All right, you're being asked to multiply binomials. Here is 1, 2, 3 different ways to do it. By the end of this video, you can pick which method makes the most sense to you and attack these problems whenever you're given them in your algebra class. So method 1, method 2, method man, and Red Man, the Blackout album. In my opinion, one of the best albums ever made. All right, so here's our two binomials. We're going to do x plus 2 times x plus 5. We're going to do that same exact binomial multiplied by the other binomial 3 times 3 different ways. So how do we take the binomial of x plus 2 and multiply it times the binomial of x plus 5? The first way is the distributing method. All you're going to be doing is distributing both of these terms into both of these terms. Now you're used to probably taking a singular value like 2, multiplying it by x and 5 through the distributive property. But we are not multiplying just 2 by all of this, we're multiplying x plus 2 by all this. And because x is a variable, that also needs to multiply by both of these terms as well. We can't combine these here. So instead of just drawing 2 lines, you're gonna have to draw 4 lines. It's like doing the distributive method twice. So instead of just going from 2 to x and 5, I tell my students make sure x goes to x and 5 as well. I will tell them to take the second term of the first group and go underneath with their lines. Take the first term of the first group and go above with your lines just to keep things separated and semi-organized. So now we just multiply all the lines that we see. So x needs to multiply by x, and we all know x times x is x squared. X needs to multiply by 5, so 5 times x, or x times 5, is going to give you 5x. 2 needs to multiply by x, that's going to give you 2x. And then 2 needs to multiply by 5, that's going to give you 10. Now when you're done, you're going to have 4 terms a lot of the times, but they're going to break down 3 terms, because if I look at 1, 2, 3, 4 separate terms, 2 of them are what we call like terms. 5x should combine with 2x. Well, if I have 5 x's and I add 2 more x's, now I have a total of 7 x's. 10 is a constant. There's no other constants, so I'm just going to bring it down. And x squared is the only term with an exponent of 2, so it doesn't have anything to combine with. We just bring it down. That's our final answer. X squared plus 7x plus 10. We've got a trinomial, 3 terms as our final result. 1, 2, 3 terms. Also, this would be a quadratic because the highest degree is 2. All right, so let's do a different strategy, a different way of multiplying this times this. If that's confusing at all for you, or sometimes you get unorganized when you're doing stuff like that, this is for those of you that have a tough time with organization. You're just going to copy down an x, copy down a positive 2, and then separate them with columns. Now over here, I'm going to write my x and my 5, but I'm going to write them like that and separate them with rows. Keep in mind, if the 5 was negative, I'd have to put a negative right there in the value. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to take these 2 parts, we're going to multiply those 2 terms together, put our answer where my fingers would meet if I continued down the line. So if I continue to the right, continue down, my fingers meet right there. X times x gets the x squared. Then I got to do 2 times x meeting right here. That's going to give me 2x. 5 times x is going to meet right here. That's going to give me 5x. And then 5 times 2 is going to meet right there, leaving me with 10. So just like over here in this strategy, this different method, now that we're using a box method, we're still going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. But we want to look at our 4 boxes and say which ones are alike. Those 2 are like terms, 5x and 2x combined to make 7x. X squared does not have a friend, so just bring it down. 10, the constant, does not have any other constants to combine with, so just bring it down. And wouldn't you know it, we got the exact same trinomial as we did using a different idea. This is just for organization purposes. Some of you really need to set things up and break it down to see it. This is a helpful strategy for you to get through this. Now, if we're multiplying two binomials here and we want to go some other method from distributing or the box method, this is the most popular method taught, especially back in the day. FOIL. We were just taught to FOIL. FOIL is an acronym. F stands for first terms, O stands for outside terms, I stands for inside terms, L stands for your last terms. So when I say first, I'm talking about the first term in this group and the first term in this group. So I just say x times x makes x squared. Then we're going to do our outside terms. Outside meaning the outermost. So if I start in the center and I go outward to the edges, that would be the x and the 5. Those are my outside terms. X times 5 or 5 times x is going to make 5x. Well, if O is outside, I's got to be inside. So now we're going to go inside to the middle. The middle two terms would be the 2 and the x. So I'm going to mark those. This times this. 2 times x gives me 2x. And then L, remember, is my last term. So that's my last term in this group, my last term in this group. So there's the last term there. There's the last term there. 2 times 5 gives me 10. And just like on our other examples, 1, 2, 3, 4 terms is going to turn into only 3 terms after we combine the 2 terms that are alike. 5x and 2x would give me 7x. So now I got an x squared, 7x, and a 10. So we're going to say x squared plus 7x plus 10. And wouldn't you know it, 1, 2, 3 answers that are all the same. It's because these methods are just different ways of observing and looking at this problem. So you can look at it and separate it out like this. You could distribute real quickly. This is the one most kids are going to get to after a while. So you might start by using this. You might start by thinking about it like that. But by the end of it all, most kids are just like, we're distributing. Boom, boom, boom. Shaka-laka, boom. And you'll be able to do this in no time if you practice these types of problems. One thing I want to show you real quick, though, is if I throw numbers in front. So if I have a coefficient in front of this x and a coefficient in front of this x, it's going to change things slightly. So let's do a quick example before we get out of here. We'll use the boxes that are already made to do this. And let's just change this problem to 4x plus 2. And instead of 3x, let's say 6x plus 5. Okay, so the x plus 2 is now 4x plus 2. 6x plus 5, so I need to make that a 6x. What happens here is we want to take 6, multiply by 4, 24, and then x times x is x squared. 6x times 2 is going to give me 12x. 4x times 5 is going to give me 20x. And 5 times 2 is still 10. Now, if you notice here, the only difference is that when we're multiplying 4x and 6x, we have to take 4 times 6 to make 24. But let's not forget that x times x makes x squared. So our final answer with this problem would actually end up being 24 x squared. 12x and 20x makes 32x, and then 10 at the end as our constant. So whether we have numbers in front or not, whichever method you want to use, they'll all three work. Make sure to practice them. The more and more you do this type of a problem, you're going to get really quick, really fast with them over time. So study hard and good luck on your upcoming test.